This week marks National Volunteer Week. It's an opportunity to celebrate the thousands of Aussies who give up their time to help others. Joining me live now is Volunteering Australia Chief Executive Mark Pearce. Mark, thanks for your time tonight. Tell us about the theme this year for the Volunteer Week, Connecting Communities. What does it mean?
So connecting to communities speaks profoundly to the impact that volunteering has on communities throughout this country. Volunteering provides an opportunity for people to, I suppose, engage in those things which create opportunities for inclusion, for a celebration of diversity, and I guess looking towards strengthening communities, irrespective of where they are. Volunteering also speaks really significantly to that piece in everyone's hope set, and that is aspiration. The aspiration to look towards better community engagement, and of course, looking towards ensuring that the communities of tomorrow look exactly the way we want them to look.
It's fallen on a pretty fitting week, I'd have to say, this week, because we've seen that volunteer spirit on full display during the flooding in the New South Wales mid-north coast. How important is that as a sign of, connection in community from the SES, the formalised volunteers, and then just residents who are getting out with a broom and whatever else they can to help out?
Well, of course, the bravery and commitment shown by SES volunteers, both in New South Wales as well as nationally, is on display for all to see. And it's one of those things where people look towards, I suppose, their communities in which they live, because, of course, we draw SES volunteers from the communities which are oftentimes affected. We see that people put up their hand, they put on the orange, and they get out there and they volunteer their time and their expertise, their commitment to communities and to the people within their communities as well. It speaks in a really powerful sense to how we feel that connection, both to the wellness of community today, but also ensuring that, no one's left behind. Volunteering does that in a way that few other things do. And I think for that reason, we look towards things like the theme of National Volunteer Week's Connecting Communities to elevate that and ensure that there is an awareness within community of just how important volunteering is.
Yeah, Mark, we live in a time-poor society, as you know, and it's been really difficult in the last few years with the cost of living crunch for many people. Have there been a drop-off in the number of Australians volunteering their time?
There has, and I think it's been a long-term decline in the rate of volunteering. If we look back even to 2011, we've seen a significant decline in the rate of what we would term formal volunteering, and that is people who volunteer their time through organisations and into community. Of course, during COVID, we saw 2 in every 3 volunteers stop volunteering altogether. And whilst the numbers have returned to pre-COVID levels, that wasn't high enough even at that point. Things like, for example, the cost of living crisis have a significant impact on all of us. And of course, volunteers are part of community. So those impacts that we see on community, we also see on volunteers. Whilst volunteering is time willingly given for the common good and without financial gain, it's not free. It costs a lot of money, not only to manage volunteering, but of course to volunteer, to be a volunteer yourself. There's a lot of out-of-pocket expenses, let alone regulatory burdens and other things as well. Anything that we can do to reduce those burdens upon volunteers is something we should be looking at, and that's spoken of in a really significant and practical way in the national strategy for volunteering.
We often think a lot about and talk a lot about how important it is for volunteering for those that it helps. But what about for the volunteer themselves? I think touched on it there. It actually has a benefit if you have enough time to be able to do it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's a wonderful point you make. And we tend to think oftentimes about volunteering as a one-way directional type of interaction. But of course, it's very much two-way. Yes, the community as a whole benefits from the engagement of volunteers, but of course, volunteers benefit in a really profound way. And whether that's through connection into community, and of course, that's the theme for National Volunteer Week this year, whether it's a pathway to employment, it's a way of developing networks, it's a way of developing skills, it's an opportunity to reduce that sense of disconnection that some of us can feel. It's a wonderful cure for loneliness. There are many, many really profound benefits that volunteering brings. And of course, as you say, yes, communities benefit, but volunteers benefit in a really significant way. And we saw that, I suppose, post-COVID. We did some research with the Australian National University to try and understand just what sort of benefit or decline we saw as a consequence of people not being able to volunteer. And what that study showed us was that for those people who were able to continue to volunteer during COVID, their mental health outcomes were far better than those who had to stop.
Mark Pearce, thanks so much for your time from Volunteering Australia. Appreciate your time tonight.